application you want to run on the other half of the screen.
He's still here.
Yeah, I would probably say like a Little Seneca is another place that probably has some good weight to it.
We lost you for like 30 seconds.
Bro, I literally I hit a button and it split my screen in half. Have no idea what happened, so I was like, oh, I gotta get rid of that.
And he closed Streamlabs.
Closed down the entire Streamlabs.
My God.
You've been talking the past 30 seconds, and the whole entire stream shut down, and I had to start the stream back up again.
I didn't even break stride. Yeah, that is definitely, that part of Susquehanna is definitely a hidden gem. There are so many little nooks and crannies.
So tell me more about this White's Ferries. So, like, is that like a what kind of boats can we take in that area? Is that a jet boat only area?
It's probably
Little John, share for us. I can't believe I just shut the stream down midstream.
It is probably going to be a jet boat only deal. It's the widest portion of the Upper Potomac. It's probably, I don't know, 2 football fields wide, because it's after the Shenandoah and the Potomac come together all the way down to Great Falls. It's a big section. It's wide. It's shallow, but dude, the fishing there right now is fantastic just for smallmouth. Some days it can rival the Susquehanna. Largemouth, I will say, don't go to Rocky Gap because that place fucking sucks. I went there. It was terrible. You
mean Rocky Gorge?
Rocky Gorge, yeah. Like
Rocky Gorge can kick out some giant bags in the springtime.
Yeah, but we didn't find them when we went there for a tournament.
So if we got Jason Stevens back, if he ends up coming back, that's like his home.
I can't even believe that just happened.
That's like his home, lake.
Yeah,
really?
I don't know what happened, Jim. I literally hit the X button. Something happened, and I shut the whole stream down on accident.
You'll have that.
Stupid.
I'm trying to think. Little Seneca is also a place I'm going to check out because I keep hearing rumors that there's some nice ones in there that just they've gotten big and educated. And Greenbrier is another little lake in Hagerstown.
What's that one in Carroll County?
Piney Run.
Piney Run's got some big fish in it. I've caught some hammers out of there.
Talking to the DWR, like some of these lakes get stocked with trout 2 to 3 times a year, and
thought my free trial was up.
It's awesome.
Yeah, Piney Run's got some hammers in it.
Did you send Jim his shirts?
I've caught a couple
weekend.
I've caught a couple sixes. I've caught a couple sixes out of Piney Run.
Yeah, I was talking to one of the guys that helped start. I think it's like one cent swim baits, and he says like if there was going to be a state record largemouth caught, it's going to be in some of these smaller lakes that get trout dumped in them, and you go there when they dump the trout, and you'll absolutely smoke a big one. So we'll see if he's right because we're going to go after him this spring to see if we can find one.
Piney Run would be one of those.
Real quick, we got a bunch of viewers back. Everybody, I shut the freaking stream down on accident. Do me a huge favor, hit the like and share button so we can try to bring everybody back in here again, because I hit the X button to shut the whole stream down. No. So like and share, please. That would be really huge. That would help us out big time, especially because my dumbass shut the whole stream down, and I can't even figure out which way to point like and stream. There it is.
So
I think the biggest problem would be those smaller lakes get so much pressure.
Yeah,
some do, but some don't though. Like some of them are just like completely out there. Like Douthit Lake in Virginia.
Yeah, but they're talking to Virginia.
10 pounders
I'm talking about the Maryland lakes.
Blair's Valley,
Briary Creek, Sandy River Reservoir,
Sandy River. We're also talking about size difference here, like Maryland versus Virginia. I mean, Maryland is like what, a tenth of the size. I think there's also places on the Eastern Shore that there's some ponds that probably got some ginormous ones in it.
Oh, I know. Like a friend of mine caught it like a 9.2 out of Lum's Pond about 3 years ago.
Damn, that's a big fish. That's a big fish for this area.
Yeah, there's some big fish in those ponds over there.
And something you guys mentioned before, the reason I think Conowingo is better than Big Slack is Conowingo has a balanced diversity of green ones and brown ones. Big Slack is like, there's probably one green one that exists there.
Just one.
We fish Thursday nighters there from whenever the DWR lets us, probably like June, whatever, until September. And I fished there 3 years now. I've only seen one largemouth wade
in 3 years.
Wow.
in 3 years.
Yeah, that
It's-
doesn't happen on Conowingo.
Yeah,
No,
it's
it's
all brown
usually a
water.
healthy mix.
It's
actually.
definitely usually pretty healthy.
Yeah.
You'll usually, you'll
There's a time of the year to go after greens and a time of the year to go after browns.
We go
So-
after greens until August. I will tell you that. I don't care about a smallmouth until August on Conowingo. I don't even mess with them.
I don't mess with. I try not to mess with smallmouth until later than that.
Yeah.
Usually it's like October.
Yeah,
honestly,
that's
you're not,
normally
yeah.
when I feel like time to go out there and start throwing the A rig around.
Yeah,
And
it's
if
into
you like
October also.
throwing 4-pound test, you'll love big slack.
See, I don't like that. I like 8-pound test.
Very clean water.
I throw 6. But
You
that's
can
about it.
tell a quarter on heads and tails in 18 feet of water. Like that's how clear it gets.
Wow.
That's insane.
So it'll be fun to see you guys out there. One part of it, there's a walkway, the C&O Canal. They built it into the side of a mountain for like 6 miles. So when you launch from the ramp and go up, there's a walkway that's about 10 feet above your head for as far as you can see. But when they built that thing, it looks like the biggest retaining wall in history, like the Chinese wall or Mexican border wall. And there's tons of rock that was knocked into the water when they built the thing. And so you basically fishing that. You can fish the other side of the shore, which has some going for it, but it's kind of boring ass fishing. You're going to be on top of each other. You're going to be rotating spots, but
Sounds like no fun to me.
Sounds like the flats where you rotate grass
Pretty much.
patches.
except the
just
weights
go
are
somewhere
way
else.
less.
That's just the way it be.
Yeah.
I don't
Way
I don't
less.
mind fishing in a crowd when I can catch 20 pounds.
Yeah, it's if you want to hone your skills though to go up north, it's kind of nice. It's one of the few places I think you can do that. Maybe that in Conowingo or Raystown. I know that's outside.
Oh,
of your
dude, I was about
jurisdiction.
to ask you about Raystown. So, like, all right, so not to completely change the subject, right? But like, I think we've covered all the subjects. But Raystown, I've seen there's a club up there called TMO, Trolling Motor Only.
There's
I've
also
seen
the Raystown Elites.
I've
too.
seen 3 fish tournaments, one on Raystown with 18 pounds. 3
There
fish.
are 9-pound smallmouth in that lake.
Dude, how do I? When and where?
They're very, very hard to catch.
But
They're
put it that way.
insanely smart.
yes, but like, just
there-
to be around
There's
that
also
fish.
there's also really big largemouth in that lake too.
Yeah.
Just to be around that
But you
fish
gotta
is
go.
incredible.
If you go up,
But-
you got to go up in the river for the largemouth.
Really?
Yeah, it's like the
You-
opposite of Conowingo. Like
Yeah.
like Conowingo, like you go to the lake, the main lake part for the largemouth, and then you go up up to the river, into the rocks for the smallmouth. On Raystown, you go into the lake part for the smallmouth and up in the river for
Yeah.
the largemouth.
Wow.
I have no idea why, but that's
There's-
just how it works.
So much alewife, I think, is what's in there, and they kept a lot of the trees. For the Army Corps of Engineers are assholes, and they tried to kill all the grass. There's still some grass if you can find it and you know it, but it's very much you're fishing the treetops in the middle of nowhere to catch them.
Gay.
Okay, yeah, pretty much. But if there was one lake that could catch a 10-pound smallmouth in Maryland or in PA, it's Raystown. They're in there, but they're smart.
Does that include Erie?
I think if there now, I don't think it'll catch the state record. I think Erie will probably always have that. But if you want an inland lake that could
An inland
challenge
lake,
it,
okay.
yeah,
Gotcha.
like that's the place you could do. Because again, like I think it was
Because there was a 10-pound smallmouth called in Erie this
In
year
Erie.
or last year.
I thought it was 9. Oh, that was
there was a-
Cayuga, right?
Yeah, there was a 10-pound, but it was caught on the Canada side.
the Raystown Elites last year. I think they had one event that it took 26 pounds of smallmouth to win.
Oh
That's
my
insane.
God, dude.
I need to
Oh my
venture up
God.
They're there, but it's again like we fish for Antietam Bassmasters. We fished our first event there 2 years ago in March, and every river bend there's a boat. Like you're just stacked on there at that time of year. It's a small lake, relatively speaking, for how much pressure it gets.
there. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, but
Because it is a very long and windy lake. It's like a narrow, lots of turns and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's in the
Yeah.
middle of the mountains, so it makes sense.
and you need your scope. It's a scope friendly place if you're going to go hunt smallmouth.
that
But
sounds
you could
like
be
fun.
rewarded.
That sounds like fun. I've always wanted to fish it, but I've never gone. It's always been like on my list. Like I've been so close to just saying screw it and driving up there, but it's like 3.5 hours from here.
Yeah, it's not a short drive.
No.
Now, Yakagani is another place I want to fish once it ever gets back to full pull. Like that was a really cool lake. Randolph Jenkins, I never fished that before. Want to fish that.
I heard Jennings Randolph is full of just absolute dinks.
Yeah, but there's some big ones in there. They're just
Also
very
full of-
educated.
It's also full of giant walleye.
Is it really?
Big walleye.
There's big walleye. I
walleye.
think the state record walleye came out of there.
Really? That's cool.
Big walleye, dude.
Yeah, they have some
Massive
giant
ones.
walleye. I caught the last time I fished a tournament on Deep Creek. I just slayed walleye. It was great. I had so much fun.
I still had a blast on Lake Moomaw. I think if you want to just go catch a bunch of fish, go to Moomaw in November and just power fish all day. You'll catch
Too far
Moomaw-
drive. If I'm driving that far, I'm going somewhere else.
Where would you
in
go?
November though.
How far away is Moomaw?
It's like 4.5.
4.5 hours. I mean,
In November, where are you going to go in November? That's 4.5 hours away to catch 40 fish.
I'll
a
just
day?
drive. If I'm already driving 4.5, I'll just
Lake
drive.
Animals hot side.
I'll just if I'm already driving 4.5 hours, I'll just drive 7
Well, where are you going in 7 hours?
in November.
Yeah, you're going to Santee.
We are heading to Murray.
That's true. Yeah, you could head to Murray.
I love
Wait, can you
Murray.
get there in
That's one-
7 hours?
Yeah, it takes about 7-8 hours to get there.
If you don't stop, yeah, you can.
I think we made it there. The last time I went down there, I think we made it there in like 8 hours.
So my guilty pleasure to fish from November to probably in January is probably Kiwi. I spent there so much time in college tournaments. It's just never shuts off in the winter, and you can just wreck them deep.
That's for me. It's the Upper Bay.
That's in Florida, right?
No, it's above Hartwell.
Jason's just kind of wingo.
I love the Upper Bay in the wintertime.
Dude, it gets into that, like, again, it's the same thing with Lake Anna's problem in the wintertime. There's so many places they go. You're all on top of each other. You got that one dumb effing redneck who's just like, I've been fishing here for the last 38 years. Get out of my hole.
No,
I'm not
it's
talking about
usually not
Iaconelli.
bad. It's usually not that bad because most of the time in the wintertime on the Upper Bay, there's nobody out.
That's fair.
Even for the tournament season, like during the weekends.
We're getting like 5 tournaments, like for the wintertime. I'm talking winter. I'm talking like now, like November, like middle of November on. There's nobody on the water up here.
So
Gotcha.
let me say this. So Jason says Conowingo. Jason is the man on Conowingo. None of us can compete with Jason right now.
Yeah, to be fair, Jason is
Jason's gonna get anytime he goes out, it's a 20-pound day. The rest of us are like, oh, I caught 7 pounds today. This is fantastic.
man. It was
Here's
tough today.
19 and a half.
It was tough
Like,
today. I got 5 bites and I had 6 pounds.
Yeah, exactly. So
And Jason, I will say this: like the thing is, like in this area of the country, the smallmouth bite bar none is better than largemouth. You can go to the Susquehanna,
yes.
Conowingo, Upper Potomac. Like they're just going to bite better, or you're going to lock into a bunch of walleye and muskie. Like it's just
Yeah, this time of year for sure.
exactly, and you're going to catch. Like I just interviewed Travis Eden. I think it was earlier today. It's been a blur, but if you hook a smallmouth nowadays, right now, it's going to be 3+ pounds easily. It's going to be a plump little football every time you lean back on the rod, and they just going to bite a little bit better. You can feel it easier than throwing like a blade bait for largemouth on the Potomac.
Same
And
day, yeah.
again,
That's what we're doing on the Upper Bay. It's all blade baits and jerk baits.
It's not. You can do it, but is it fun? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I enjoy it.
I don't enjoy throwing a blade bait whatsoever. I won't pick one up. I don't care if the guy that I'm fishing with is hammering them on a blade bait. Just gonna throw a jig.
I'll do it, and I'm competent with it, but it doesn't mean I enjoy it. I will jiggle a minnow, but it doesn't mean I'm happy with it. And so if I had to pick between that and throwing a tube for a 4-pound smallmouth, it's like I'd rather just go do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
when
mean,
it
I
comes down
totally-
to
I totally
tournament
get that.
fishing and whatnot, if you're trying to put fish in the boat, you got to swallow those things that you want to do and do the things that the fish want you to do. But
Yeah.
I find it very hard to
See, I've always,
do the things that I don't enjoy doing when I'm fishing.
and this is something that I've said many times on here. I don't care how I catch them. I will.
Do you though? Really? There's nothing like, shit, I hate that I'm doing it this way. Like,
What
I agree with that.
So-
fuck a silver buddy.
what I get the most enjoyment out of
Can of beer.
in fishing is figuring out whatever the best pattern is, and so it doesn't matter what I'm catching them on. If it's a Ned rig, it's a Ned rig. If it's a minnow, it's a minnow. If it's a blade
Like
bait, it's a blade
punching.
bait. If it's a buzz bait, it's a buzz bait. Now,
What
I mean,
if it's,
my favorite way to catch fish is on a buzz bait. But
Okay, but you can only catch them on a Guggen Pink Ned rig with a Zipco.
then I'm not catching any fish that day. Because you will never see a green and black package in my boat. And if you have a green and black package, you're getting kicked off my boat.
Damn.
We don't do Guggen here. This is not a Guggen platform. We don't even like to discuss it. 'Cause we
Every
do
man
not
has their limits.
promote
Every man has their limits.
The Guggen.
I don't. I can. I'm
Is
pretty-
Guggen still a thing? You don't
Yes,
even
of
hear
course it's
anything
still a
about
thing.
them anymore.
That's because what's his name's too busy buying storage units now.
I think they cashed out. Yeah.
Did they really? Is that a thing?
Dustin,
he's-
I'm
the
with you,
last
brother.
the
It's
last
video game season.
the
Send me
last
your
I
gamer
heard-
tag.
The last I heard of him talking about fishing, he said that they were working on doing like a rebrand of Guggen, and there were some things coming down the pike, and then I didn't hear anything else. That was
couple more rip-offs they want to put on the market.
that was like 6 months ago.
Are we talking about Guggen or Berkeley?
Ooh, that is, yeah, that's like, they literally have like a battle going back and forth of who can rip off more designs.
Everybody copies everybody.
Pretty much.
Yeah, they do.
Or
That's the-
everyone steals from Japan.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Japan copies us too.
I mean, 6 cents. I mean, it's hard to find American
But it's like
companies
the
that actually
same
innovate.
thing. Like, we want to bring JDM lures here because it's what we're used to.
They wanna bring our
wanna
lures
them
there.
over there because, like,
6 cents. I mean,
I like 6 cent stuff, dude. I think
there's
it's
a lot of stuff that 6 cents
Got
makes
you,
that
Lil John?
I do like her. 6 cents makes a fantastic square bill.
and the jerk baits is decent. Like they don't overly copy the fuck out of everybody, and it works. And you know, I think it's respectable in that it's not a direct copy of something that somebody else has done. It's marketed well. It's a fair price point, and it catches fish. Like I respect what they do personally. It's just
I have
my
a bunch of their
opinion.
jerk baits.
Guggen?
I like their
No,
6 cents.
fuck no. The provoke jerk bait is a very very good jerk bait. The crankbaits, like Paul said, are very good too.
I think I literally only own Vision 110s. I don't think I own any other jerkbait.
Dude, you need the Castaic CJ115. It sinks like a fucking pencil. It literally does this. I'm serious. It does.
Garbage.
Every single one that I've owned sinks like a fucking
So,
pencil.
I-
Sucks.
The Vision 110 excels in cold water, but in other situations, it is, if you're going to fish jerk baits, it's important to have different actions on the jerk bait.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
I'll just
the
say
jerkbait
that.
is a bait that I just don't know much about. I don't
It's
really
a
know.
rabbit hole.
I like the
it's
rear
all
range.
It
Yeah.
is a
dude.
big rabbit hole. It's one of those
Rearrange.
baits where there's so many. There's different cadences.
Sounds like you're shattering a window
just-
every time you cast.
The rear range?
It's
Yes,
different
it does.
cadences, different.
And are you
depths,
targeting spots,
reeling.
largemouth or smallmouth?
And sometimes I
Yeah,
even feel
for
like
sure.
sometimes I'm even using a jerk bait and I'm even like I'm hitting the rod and like I can't even decide. I'm like, am I hitting this hard enough? Am I hitting it too lately? Like,
No, that's
should
part
I
of jerk,
should
that's
I
part of
pull
jerk bait
through-
fishing.
I'm just like, God damn, like
Find your cadence, figure it out. Like, I mean, this is where like my brother and I in college, we would dominate because back in the day, because we were poor, we would buy like the Kevin Van Dam jerk baits because you could buy like 2 or 3 for the price of 1 megabass. So we could get every color. We was like Skittles. We had every color, every variation, and you just keep rotating. And you could figure out quickly and dial in the cadence, the color, the depth that they were in. This is before forward facing sonar. It's a cool bait, but it's realizing that you have to, if you didn't have forward facing sonar, which cuts the learning curve down
Lucky
way
Craft
quick.
makes a good jerk. I like
Yeah,
that.
Lucky
Dustin.
Craft back in the day, Bone, Lucky Craft, and Lake Anna. Like
Yep.
if you didn't
Oh,
throw
yeah.
that, you weren't catching shit. But
The old pointer 100.
cycling through, yes, the pointer 100, cycle through, figure out what's going on, and depth control is so important. Like this guy down here named McCluskey, who's really good with scope,
Is that Joe?
turned me on to what?
Joe?
No, Matt McCluskey.
Matt McCluskey?
Yeah, he steals everyone's money down here, and he uses a +2 and a +3. And the reason is he's figured out when they're finicky, you can get it down deeper at fish at 100 feet on your scope.
Right.
And it was just, it's such a, you have to be so either autistic or tuned to know like this is when you want this big bill, just because it's not necessarily about the action, it's getting it down to their level quickly. And I was always told never throw those big bills because it kills the action. Like try to use things with less bill because it keeps the wobble. And he's like, nope, not in this certain situation. Don't do that. Get it down.
Right.
Never would've
Like
thought
I
of that.
noticed
Who even makes that?
Megabass.
They make a
Mega-
+3?
Yeah.
What? I didn't know that.
So-
I want a +3.
I noticed last
It's
weekend.
weird when you rip on one though, dude. It's like a crankbait.
I like getting weird.
Last weekend, I did notice that when I was fishing a jerkbait, that I couldn't get it down to the depth that I wanted, and until I was 40 feet from the boat.
Yeah.
I couldn't get that that full length cast. It didn't get down to its max depth until it was like 40 feet out, and then you fish it for about 15 feet, and then it starts to come up. So I could definitely see that.
Sometimes you got to fish a jerkbait that's designed to be fished a little bit deeper
So that you can get it down here.
so that you can get it down.
And it's so crazy because his concept was you're getting it down and flirting with them right in their face, and you want it there longer. And if it's only 40 feet,
Exactly.
you have to get the boat closer, which is going to spook them. So getting that distance or that depth, you can get it almost onto the bottom, let's say in your 18 feet of water or 15 feet of water, and you can just flirt with them a lot longer to try to tease a bite out of them before they feel the boat or the scope,
Yeah.
which is brilliant.
I fished a certain jerkbait a lot. That is a deep, slow sinking jerkbait.
Is it the
that I fish
Banjo
in-
Minnow?
That I fish in the wintertime a lot. Specifically for that reason, because it's a slow sink. So when it gets to the bottom, it'll basically just sit on the bottom, it doesn't collapse the hooks on the bottom. The hooks will just kind of sit on the bottom, and you can just let it sit there. Like you were saying, you have to get it down and get it in their face. Wintertime around here, they're always they're always glued to the bottom. So you just get it down there and you just barely twitch it and you let it sit there, and it sits right in front of their face. You barely twitch it, and a minute and a half later on this retrieve that you've moved your jerkbait 3 feet. The next time you twitch it, it's just tight. So it's depth control. Like you said, depth control is super important.
And something else that I learned by myself, which is I use this for Jamaica rig fishing too. It's you don't always have to do those massive snap and jerks, because what'll happen when you put slack line in the winter, you're not going to feel the damn bite. They will, and this is what something a scope taught me, to where when I hit it, I might just reel it a little bit right afterwards to see, because if you feel any weight, that's the fish on there.
Yep.
So you have to have, as weird as it sounds, you have to somehow keep line tension throughout the whole retrieve, because I think Kevin Van Dam butchered this when it's like you look like a crackhead just whipping it, and that's what you do. It's like, well, the problem is in the winter when you have that massive slack line, he could have the bait and you would not know it, because he's not going to like rip it when he eats it. He's just going to hold it, and he might spit it right afterwards. So you got to keep a little tension to make sure that you don't have him where he's just breathing on it and spitting it back out.
I mean, Kevin never let the bait sit long enough for him to not know the fish wasn't on there.
Oh
Anyway.
yeah. He would snag them.
He just he
Stacey King. I think it was Stacey King that
just
would,
set the hook. He
Yeah.
just set the hook on the next rip.
it was either Clark or Stacey King, I think, was the one that would leave it for like 5 minutes at a time before ripping it back in the day.
I
trying to think who it was, but-
I got on a bite on the upper bay.
So much time. I don't know how people have this. Oh my god! Like, I think about trying to leave a jerkbait sit there for like 30 seconds, and I'm like,
So get this. I got a few years ago. I got on a jerkbait bite on the upper bay, and I went out the day. It was 38-degree water temperature. I went out to fish silver buddy as I was trying to get some confidence fishing a blade bait, and that bite didn't work out. So I get over to one of the wintering holes that I know about, and I start throwing a jerkbait, and the only way that I could catch these fish is I could smoke an entire cigarette in between twitches.
That's insane.
Back when I smoked, I mean that was you're 5 to 7 minutes in between twitches.
Yeah,
And
I'm
you would
not
just
catching
go,
them at that point.
Dude, and when I say when I was twitching it, I'm literally going on a slack line, bringing the line tight, and that was it. That was the twitch. I mean, fishing it that slow. One of the best days that I've ever had on the upper bay.
Nope.
I mean, I call it in
I'm
38
slow, but not that slow.
38-degree water. I had almost 20 pounds for my best 5, and I caught 19 fish in 3 hours, give or take.
Damn. Damn, that's crazy. What depth were you fishing on the Upper Bay?
Like 10.
10. Okay. That's
Eight to
insane.
10.
Like I said, I'm slow, but I'm not that slow.
Yeah, it was crazy how slow you had to fish it.
Well, that's where blade baiting is. Like, some people will poo-poo it. Like, I'll do it, and it's kind of fun. It's like the last power fishing thing you can do in the wintertime, honestly, where you can
it's true.
pull it and do something to keep yourself from getting hypothermia. Versus the jerkbait thing, you gotta like take a sedative to be able to do that for any length of time.
You gotta put on "Comfortably Numb" by Pink Floyd or something. Like you just like
Just put on the wall and listen to the entire album
yeah, right.
in between jerkbait twitches.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where scope has helped. I think, like, I truly think scope made winter fishing fun, whether it was bass, crappie, or whatever, because you can at least visually see, like, oh, there's a fish there. I will slow down because you just get that feedback in your head versus you're sitting in a blizzard questioning your life decisions, just sticking a rod out in the middle of nowhere, hoping to get bit.
Yeah, it's definitely wintertime fishing. Like that's, it's frustrating. All right, like you said, scope has helped because you can at least see that there's fish in the area, and it gives you a little bit of confidence to to slow down and try different techniques. Otherwise, you're just blowing through like fishing every dock that has a decent amount of water on it with a blade bait, and if you don't get bit, you're like, oh, I guess they weren't eating today.
Well, and even like
What's up,
crappie
Jamie?
fishing, like I really got into crappie fishing when I got scope, and I tried to figure it out and just take a jig to see what I'm seeing. And I was like, this is fun. I can be out here in the middle of the lake by myself, and I can catch, 20 crappie, some of the biggest bluegill and perch, and a couple of bass. Like I can get bit constantly, and so it's definitely I can get out there in the wintertime, have the lake to myself, and pretty much catch whatever I want. It just sets up probably the best for scope. And the fish are generally speaking, let you get closer, it seems like, in the wintertime.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but they do.
I think it's just because they don't want to move.
Probably.
They're less likely to move, metabolism slower, all that fun stuff. Yeah, I do a lot of up here we do a lot of perch fishing in the wintertime, so like a lot of people will do that to kind of get their fix during the wintertime.
Go out for some slab crappie.
Have you heard of the wives' tale? I don't know if you guys think this is true or not, that they can't see as well in the winter.
I have not heard.
I just don't think they process the image as well because if everything on the fish is
I
slowing
heard-
down, of course they're
It's
neurotic
like
and
they're like
slowing
they're
down
like
too.
retarded.
I heard
Kind of like me.
So I can tell you that one thing I will tell you of since having scope is that if you think fish 100% slow down in the winter, you're absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
I have watched fish chase down bait in 35-degree water. Mm-hmm. I mean,
One of my favorite methods of winter
Bass,
fishing
I'm
is
talking
speed
bass.
cranking. I love speed cranking in the middle of winter. And
Yeah, I mean, I've
call
caught
me crazy, but creating a reaction strike in the middle of winter.
for sure.
saw
I had
that, right?
I had a great day on the Potomac a few years ago in February doing. That's disgusting. Whatever that smell is, it's disgusting.
I'm sorry.
It's the dog's ass.
So, cranking in February in sub 40-degree water, and fantastic day. For a February day, I think I caught 9 or 10. Some good quality fish. You have three and a half pounders. And it wasn't what you would think. I mean, 39-degree water, right? You're thinking I'm going to have to fish stupid slow or fish blade baits. Nope. Throwing a crankbait on drops, and they were smashing it.
And there you go. Crankbaits, cold weather, jerk baits. I mean, that's year round, but like the A rig, like what I was told a bunch in college was like, yeah, they bite it better in the wintertime because they can't see the wire. And I was like, oh, is that factual or did you just make that up? Like,
I think that's false.
yeah. And
I just don't think they care.
I think the bait's more bunched up.
Yeah, for sure. I think Dustin said that's why I heard that's why the red stuff works in early spring. They see better. I heard Gerald Swindle mention that one time. I think it's different around here versus what he is generally talking about.
I think it's color of the water too. Like
Color of the
Potomac
water.
River.
But like when I heard him talking about that, he was talking about fish being deep. Okay, fish being deep in the wintertime, less light. They move up shallow, more light. It takes them a bit to adjust to be able to see in that when they have more light available to them. Which kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But whether there's any truth to that, we'll probably never know. but
Interesting.
what we do know is red works in the springtime
It does, and it
and in the
has
fall.
to. It has to be something with either what they're seeing because of the watercolor or it's the forage, right? Like it's one of the two. And I mean, I don't even know what I've never seen a red crayfish. I've seen them in the live well, but
As
is
much
that
as-
'cause it's dead?
As
and
much
it
as you
switched?
fish the Potomac, you've never seen red crayfish.
I've never seen like a live one. I've seen them dead in the
Go-
live well, but
Go to the next time you're on the Potomac in like August, September when it's matted up. Watch the top of the mats.
I saw black ones.
So they're black and red. Those
Interesting.
crayfish that are on there, they're super dark on the back. They're bright red on the belly.
Huh. You've turned over more crayfish than me because I've seen shit black ones, and because I'll use like a spoiler, I'll use like a black fluke
Yeah.
every now and then for the mats to give it that quick look because they'll sink when they're not used to that. Like instead of it saying it'll drop down, but it's because I saw black crayfish, but I never knew that they were black and orange. Interesting.
Yeah, they're like bright red on the belly.
Mystery solved. Okay, so Jarrell Swindle was right. There you go.
Yeah, they'll if you see them like when you see them like crawling around on top and you can see like their legs are like super like fluorescent red.
You stare at the crayfish way more than I do.
I'm very observant. You know how
Yeah.
I'll tell you how I found that out. Go to any whatever boat ramp, go to Mattawoman, go to Leesylvania, and look at where the seagulls sit on the floating docks. You know, you'll see all the crayfish remnants that are there, where the the herons and stuff.
Oh.
So you'll see all the crayfish shells and stuff there from them eating crayfish, and you can get a good idea of the color of the crayfish that are prevalent.
That's interesting, dude. I gotta try that. I like
gotta
that
be-
question on Headwaters
observant.
Jim. So you think fishing actually sees colors or just shades? I think that's why like bright white works so well because of the hue it casts. Black works, and honestly, I throwed a lot more chartreuse baits moving, like
So-
the brightest shit possible.
I just watched something recently, maybe a month ago or so, about how fish see based on the rods and cones that how their eyes are developed, and they actually took each color that we throw and kind of shown it in what a shade that based on a fish's eye structure, what they would see, and chartreuse to a fish according to this shows up almost like a pearl white. So-
Based on the depth or based on what they see?
Based on what they see, how they see the color.
Interesting.
So what do they see pearl white like?
Bright white. It just looks white. Chartreuse and white look very similar,
So
Interesting.
throwing white is the same as throwing chartreuse, essentially.
essentially. Yeah. According to, and then this is just according to one
according
person,
to-
right?
Yeah.
What that doesn't say is the brightness of the color reflecting light. That was
Right.
interesting. Like a duller white versus a brighter yellow, one will reflect more light, which is
Exactly.
interesting.
So you're gonna get you'll get more glow off of one than you will off the other.
Yeah.
I mean, even as much we think about like muddy water and like everybody's idea on muddy water is, oh, I have to throw super bright colors. Like I have to throw these chartreuses. I have to throw these. I have to throw something that contrasts like a black and blue. White, straight white is one of the best muddy water colors.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
on the flip side, if you're fishing like
And black.
Lake Murray, gin clear water, 20 feet, you can throw. I'll throw bright yellow, and just burn that sucker as fast as possible to get their attention when they're schooling or whatever, because they'll see those brighter colors and they'll track it.
I would like to know how they see pink.
I think that was in there.
How they see pink is they see that as another
Smallmouth
white, how
hate
do they
it.
see
I
pink?
don't know why, but they hate pink.
I think
By
pink
hate-
is a very underrated color in fishing, in my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think pink is a color that works in stain water and also works in clear water.
You know why they don't sell bright yellow, bright pink baits, right?
No.
Because of masculinity. They did studies that people won't buy them because it doesn't look
Pink.
manly.
Except for them bubblegum flukes.
I have a couple bubblegum color
Bubblegum trickworm.
crankbaits.
Bubblegum trickworm. So
And-
Jason said, relevant to the fish, white is white and chartreuse is chartreuse. So they still may be seeing something that we can't see in that color.
Yeah.
which that that makes perfect sense too. And Jason, I tend to agree with you
Relevance
that
to the fish. White is white, chartreuse is chartreuse.
right. So even though they both look white to us, if we were looking at it like through the fish's eyes, like in that video that I was talking about, a fish still knows the difference between white and
Right.
chartreuse.
Right.
But yeah, I tend to I agree with Jason on that because I've had too many days where you throw I'm throwing a blackback white crankbait and I switch to a blackback chartreuse crankbait and start smashing them.
I have
and
had
it's-
too many days where I throw a bait that mimics generally the exact same color of, say, something that Scuba Steve is throwing and he's crushing it on, and they will not touch it because it isn't the exact color.
It's also a misnomer though too, and there's no hard and set rules. Like when it's clean, clear water, you have to like completely match the hatch to like the detail and scale pattern. But like what Steve Kennedy did when he was fishing, he's throwing basically a glide bait with brighter colors for the water, but it's attracting to get the reaction. And I think if you had to tell a novice, you have to match the hatch if that bait's going to sit there in their face for any period of time. Like I'm saying, like big picture rules. But if you're trying to get them to react, that's where you can go with those insane colors because it's not going to stay there very long. And it's just getting them to like hit that core chase that's in them. And I think that's better with spots and smallmouth possibly than largemouth. Because
I've seen it. So I personal experience with largemouth. I was fishing a club tournament on the flats one day, crystal clear water. I mean,
you got 'em
crystal clear water. I'm matching the hatch, right? Like it's clear. I'm trying to throw something natural. The bite's tough. Friend of mine pulls into the same gut, guy in my club, same gut, throwing a solid chartreuse crankbait, and just first cast 3-pounder. Like I'm sitting here trying to work the grass because it's when I say crystal, I mean gin clear. Summertime on the flats. That grassy clear water. Yeah, bright chartreuse crankbait just smashes them.
Yep.
And I'm like, seriously? Like, bright chartreuse. I mean, when I say bright chartreuse, like neon chartreuse. Like, you can see this thing like glowing green as he's casting it.
Yeah,
So-
dude, it doesn't make sense, but sometimes, man.
And, maybe it's just that they could see it better, that they're buried in the grass. Being that they're buried in the grass because it's clear and it's sunny out, that bright color coming over top of them, maybe it's that bright color. They catch a little bit of a glimpse of it, and they get that reaction bite versus something natural that might blend in a little more.
Yeah, fish are curious. Like they just are. And I mean,
Why
have
do
you
you
ever
think
seen
they
like
eat 10-inch glide baits?
Yeah, exactly.
In areas that don't have, in places that don't have 10-inch bait fish.
That is interesting because I feel like it's just that thing
Dominance,
matches
territory.
it's the territory. It
Curiosity.
looks like a fish. It feels like a fish. And I think that's the thing. It feels like one. The patterns coming off their lateral line, the way it moves, it's like that thing looks. Why is that thing in my territory? And
Why
I think
is
they
it
just-
doing that?
yeah, why is it doing that? I want to investigate because it's like if you ever watch the YouTube videos, this guy spearfishing will like throw a mirror, and it will just shimmy down like a blade bait or a spoon, and these massive fish will come in like. It's something that looks so small they wouldn't want to eat it, but they're still curious enough because of the reflection to come check it out. And I think a lot of times when you're buzzing a crankbait right over their heads and it's very bright, or let's say a jerk bait in really clean water, but it's a really crazy color, they're just instinctively have to go check it out to see what the hell it is.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I feel like, that's why you get,
Well, the other thing is
basically you can catch fish on anything that flashes, right?
Yeah.
I watched it. If you don't believe me, I watched a guy catch a pike on his silver YouTube button, drilled holes in it, caught a fish on his silver YouTube button that they
God.
sent him.
I also just want to say too, bass fish in general don't have hands. They don't have fingers. They can't. There's no other way for them to feel what something is without using their mouth. So
They have a
whether
lateral line though. They have a lateral line.
lateral line.
Yeah.
That black thing on
how
the
they
side of the
feel.
fish.
It's not technically it's
What
not
do
the
you
black
mean
thing.
how they feel?
Wow.
So they can feel vibrations in the water based on their lateral line.
I mean, like
That's
right.
how they identify.
Right, like yeah, they can feel vibration. I get that, but what I'm trying to say is like
Well, it's like Daredevil.
that form of touch. There's no
Like, they don't
other,
know if it's
there's
real
no
or
other
not
way
until
for
they
them to
put it
have
in.
that form of touch or taste without them using their
Gotcha.
mouth. So you might spark their curiosity with something that is completely. It's like, you know, it's like a piece of watermelon floating down in front of them. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, like I don't know what this is. I've never seen this here
Yeah.
before. You're gonna put your mouth on it and taste it and see what it is. Oh well,
What?
it's got a freaking barb hook in it.
Is that how it goes?
Sounds like your weekend last weekend.
Damn.
That was
That took a
Tony's
turn.
weekend.
That was Tony's weekend.
You know, something just random videos. If you Google like pike watching a goldfish, this guy put 2 goldfish in a bowl, glass bowl underwater. And then he set it there with a GoPro, and the pike will come up, and there was like 2 or 3 of them just staring at this bowl the whole time and watching their body language of them trying to figure out how to get to them. And they would try to stalk the bowl, and they would like run into it. But it's super interesting to see how these predators will figure out that that's something they want, how they'll approach something, and how they'll use their fins to compress and then launch at something. And when you look at bass, you wonder like which of the 3 are the best predator. Like, to me, I think probably hands down the smallmouth is probably the best predator of the 3. I feel like the largemouth is probably the most lazy.
Dude,
I would
smallmouth
agree.
are
Smallmouth
just
are spots.
They're just cracked up. They're just cracked out.
Great.
Yeah, but
They
they
do
don't
really
they
are.
don't mind the current the same way that largemouth do. Largemouth are going to
Spots
sit
spots
in
are-
every current break and every eddy that's
Better
available.
sense of smell, smallmouth, because that's why we use scent all the time for them. Better sight, probably a smallmouth. You know, who will hunt over a bigger distance? A smallmouth. A largemouth doesn't give a shit. You throw it in front of him, he'll eat it.
What about spots?
Spots, dude. No, that's the cracked out like Mexican that you're afraid of on the side of the street. Because you get a big one of those, man, they will fight hard. And if you fish cur or any spotty place, it's insane. You'll see a cloud and you think it's catfish, and it's like, no, it's like 31-pound spots. And your game is, how do I get through this to get to the one that's 3 pounds on the bottom?
Right. Yeah, it's as far as I mean, I feel like they're super. You know, they're a lot like a smallmouth. I mean, they can be super aggressive like a smallmouth. They live in current like a smallmouth.
They'll eat in cold weather.
Eat in cold water. Yep. Probably the best time to fish for them is in the wintertime.
That's true. That's true.
I wish we had a place that closer that we could, you know, go to fish for like a good spotted bass lake, not like the 1-pounders on Kerr, because I don't know if
I
you
think
throw a billion
Murray's the
1-pounders.
closest.
Murray
think.
doesn't really have spots.
Does it not really have
Yeah.
spots? Yeah,
No.
that's
it
good.
would be like Hartwell, Norman,
Clater has them, but Norman and Hartwell.
Gaston.
I would say Gaston is a sleeper. They're catching nice ones out of there, but I think Hartwell, Kiwi doesn't have a lot of big ones, so probably Hartwell or Lanier.
Lanier,
Maybe.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
Lanier's a
Lanier.
little farther. That's a little farther away. Too.
Yeah.
Lanier's got giant. I mean, Lanier's
some-
got giant spots.
Big ends in it.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think they had an Elite Series there 4 or 5 years ago that Paul Mueller won.
Yeah. 'Cause-
With like massive weight. Catching him in like 40 feet of water on a swim bait on a 1/4 ounce head.
It was stupid. I think he was using scope because poor Zaldane didn't have scope. I think Zaldane was doing well on that one too.
This would have been pre-scope.
Is this
I think,
pre-scope?
Yeah. Because he was just like blind casting onto these points and just like working this. It was a little range swim bait, and just like slow rolling it down these super deep points.
That does sound like fun.
But I mean, they were
fun.
catching. I mean, they were. I think it took 80 plus pounds to win for 4 days.
Wow.
So I mean, they were catching over 20 pounds a day. I think Palaniuk was also up in the top 5 on that one.
Oh,
I heard that.
that is shit.
Did you?
Yes, he did.
Good for you.
But yeah, spot. I haven't gotten the opportunity to really fish for spots a lot. I fished for them a little bit in Texas, but again, they're just smaller spots.
The 2 years, 3 years I was doing college tournaments, a lot of the big regionals and national championships were Lake Murray, Hartwell, Kiwi, and it's just you had to get used to fishing for them, and they're different, dude. They're a different type of cat, and it's so weird because at least where I've seen like on spot lakes, it's about can you integrate largemouth into it? That's always the big thing because you can, as long as you have half a brain, you don't drive a short bus, you can catch fish on a spotted bass lake. But you cannot catch big ones. That's the hardest thing there is trying to upgrade those couple of ounces. But yeah, normal. Good Lord.
That's Tom can fucking smell it through the camera. Jeez.
His face is like he needs to check himself.
But yeah, I'd love to go somewhere. It's not something that I've really done or had the opportunity to do based on, just where the trails and championships that I've fished have been. I haven't got an opportunity to really fish for spots. So.
Well, if you had to fun fish, would you rather do that or go out west to some of those cool places to catch either the ginormous spots out in California or going up to the Dakotas and catching those freaky smallmouth?
I'd be in Idaho fishing for those giant smallmouth.
Idaho, yeah,
Yeah.
same.
If I had a choice.
Idaho?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple lakes out there that produce multiple
Looney
last few
Tunes.
years have
Just
produced multiple 9-pound smallmouth.
it's
I feel like
massive.
you always think of the
I think Josh Jones caught a 9-pounder out there
Yeah.
last year, I think.
Was it
scuba.
last year or 2 years?
Yeah, last
And
year or
Polinick-
2 years ago. Polinick
Josh
knows about
Jones,
it. Obviously, Polinick knows about it.
Yeah.
He's just never said a word about it in
It's-
forever.
There are so many lakes. I think there's a lake in Montana too that they think could
Are
potentially
you
have
with
some big
Steve
ones in
Littlejohn?
Milliken caught some big ones out there, too,
it. Milliken did.
earlier this year.
Dude,
Milliken.
there's so
But
many
yeah,
places.
there's some places in Idaho that are just
Yeah.
it's like you want to talk about like hidden gems is like the people that are in that area know about it and they don't tell anyone.
Well, that's what's so crazy is I wonder if we'll ever get to a point where a lot of these lakes up north will get discovered because you have like Lake of the Woods, which is a Canadian shed.
Yeah.
You have
Fantastic lake.
there's a lake in Montana that's like the third biggest in the United States, which is just an ocean. But apparently, yeah, it gave up a 9 or 10 pound smallmouth. But it's all walleye and muskie up there. They don't care about smallmouth.
Well, yeah, that's like
Oahe.
I was gonna say Oahe. Like that's a walleye lake,
It's an ocean too. Like it's massive.
and they're the first year that they went there when Mark Daniels won, Mark Daniels started to get on something and like kind of start to see like what that lake can produce,
Yeah.
and then you come back 3 or 4 years later when they have scope and like they're catching. Yeah, I think the big bag of that tournament was like close to 24 pounds.
And
Like they're.
what's crazy about that lake, and for people to understand, this lake is so big. The reason the people fish where there were is there weren't enough gas stations for them to fill up to keep going.
Well,
That's
yeah,
how
because
big this
it's a
place
big
was.
lake and there's nothing. It's not necessarily that
nothing.
it's such a big lake compared to like some other lakes that we fish. There's just nothing there. There's nowhere to get gas.
Yeah.
So if you run to like where the fish are, like you're not getting back.
Wow.
And there's like 2 boat ramps on the whole lake. So yeah, it's kind of crazy like with that, like the size of when we think about like a lake and we think of like Conelingo or like even if we think of like a big lake like Hartwell, which Hartwell is a very large lake. You could plop Hartwell inside of Oahe and have plenty of room to spare.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, you could just
Yeah, I
take
have
like
to
the
check
whole
this.
outline and just
So
go. Bloop.
I just Googled it. Lake Oahe is 370,000 surface acres.
That's insane.
That's quite
That-
a large. That's a
It's
large
but
lake.
we have a lot of these big lakes.
You want to put that in
where-
perspective? Rayburn is 112,000, and Rayburn is a giant lake,
It's a
3
state.
times the size of Rayburn.
It's stupid. And again, if you just follow Bass, you think there's only 6 lakes in this country, and there's lakes that we've been to once, twice, or never that are big, really
Well,
big.
There's as far as like the Pro Series going, and we always, we always see them going to the same areas because they're going where it pays for them to go, right?
So, yeah.
On top of that, they have to have the proper facilities to be able to host that tournament because it's a big ordeal when you have, you have your camera crews and you have to have, a ramp suitable to launch 108 boats. You have to have, and, just logistically there, you can't just go to like any place. Like you couldn't have an Elite Series on Lake Jordan. It's just not going to happen because they don't have the facilities to maintain it. But like Hartwell has put out the Hartwell, the town down there. Can't remember which town it is, but they built like that giant boat ramp so that they could house these big tournaments. And when they put the money in like that, that's where these bigger tournaments are going to go. So that's what we see. So we never get to see these cool smaller lakes or these more remote lakes that are just, phenomenal lakes. Like you mentioned, Lake of the Woods, which that's Gussie's home lake. So if we can get him to go there, that would be cool because it's always fun when Gussie wins.
Yeah, but it's also like that's like a fishing royalty. Like the fishermen and the lenders have talked about it forever. And I just Googled it. So it's called Flathead Lake in Montana. It's 130,000 surface acres. 130,000.
So that's like the size of Rayburn.
The size of Rayburn. And it's just interesting. Like there are still big lakes that haven't been touched. Cumberland, you didn't know about until it refilled and people started to smoke them in there. So I don't know. Cool places they could go.
Cumberland's definitely that's a good one. I'd like to go there. Just not specifically for the fishing, just because it's a beautiful area. Right?
It's
very scenic.
Fishing doesn't suck anymore, which is kind of cool
and
too.
The fishing's good. Yeah, can't
Clark's
complain
Hill
about that.
Was one that I'm glad they started to go back to. Now they're getting that back in the rotation because that was fun.
Seminole, they went to Seminole last year. That was because that's cool. That's one of those ones that I watched them fish as a kid, right? Mm-hmm. And then they didn't go there for many years.
Yeah.
Oh, Amistad, I would love because Falcon, Amistad, like to get back. Havasu, fishing in the desert is just cool. I don't know, there's a cool factor there, even though the fishing's not always great. Clear Lake.
The last time they were on Havasu, Aaron Martin's won.
Yep. Blackbird pattern.
Pattern.
It's neat to see that stuff because you hear people out west talk about it. And again, like the whole Clear Lake thing with Steve Kennedy, like that's a freaky fishery. Why do you keep putting it as the number one fishing destination, but you never go there? For Christ's sake, do you like views?
It's not as good as it used to be.
It's not, but
they're obviously they're not going there because it's in the west, and the majority of the anglers don't live in the Midwest or East, and the anglers, as much as you hear anglers say, "Oh, I'd love to go out west," it's the anglers that are going to bitch the most when they decide they want to go out west because
it's like Possum Kingdom too, in Possum Kingdom in New Mexico or wherever the fuck that place
Possum
is.
Kingdom's in Texas.
Yeah, there's multiple 10, 12, 15 pounders a year brought in that place.
Well, that's literally
they
any
never
place.
Fish it.
That's the cool thing about Texas. That's every single lake in Texas.
Yeah, and I also want to fish the Cumberland River. Apparently, they catch 28 to 30 pound smallmouth stringers out of the Cumberland River in Seattle, in Oregon, like
Columbia.
River, Columbia.
Real quick, I do want to put us on our 10-minute warning here.
Oh. We got our 10-minute warning.
We're getting a little late. I
have been
gotta
going
I gotta
for
wake
quite a
up
while.
early to go I gotta wake up early in the morning to go snowboarding.
Ah, you bitch.
You're going snowboarding?
Yeah, Round Top opens tomorrow.
It's like, I got bad knees and ankles. I can't fish. I'm going snowboarding tomorrow.
Not me. I've
It's
never
more-
tried to
It's
snowboard.
more the back.
Never tried to snowboard. never
Snowboarding's
tried to
terrible
ski.
for your back.
Yeah.
Not as much as standing on the fishing boat.
Nah, I don't know.
The fishing boat makes
As long as you don't fall down.
Dude, standing on the fishing boat makes my back hurt so bad compared to just like going snowboarding.
Is
Where
it
are
in
you
between your
going
shoulders?
No, it's
Or is
just
it
like
your lower back?
it's like my lower back.
See, it never bothers my lower back. I always get that like tightness in between my shoulders that like literally everyone that fishes gets until you get a bite. And then you get a bite and it just goes away.
Yeah.
Where are you
Round
going
Top
snowboarding?
opens tomorrow, Little John.
Oh, Round Top. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna go to Round Top tomorrow morning.
Oh, you can
for-
stop by
for-
you can stop by Hoghead Marine and see Mr. Scott Dice. He's like right down the road.
Okay.
I remember seeing this. I saw the sign for Round Top when I was driving up there the last time.
Yeah, it's not far.
What's a dream place that you guys would want to fish? Me and Tom were talking about all these places we like to fish.
Ooh.
Like if you could go one place, one lake in the country, what would it be? Like obviously I know you want to throw a big swim bait, so is it going to be like
probably one of the. I'd probably like to go to
like
like one of those
Casitas or something.
one of those nice North Carolina lakes that like
One of those little
like dream catchers or something.
one of
is
those little
always
electric
on.
only reservoirs.
Something like
There's a ton of
that,
them.
or
Not California.
maybe.
Maybe California.
Matt,
I
thanks
think-
for joining, brother. I appreciate it.
I was just
Snowboarding
thinking-
is a ton of fun.
I thought you might go California just because of like the history of swim bait fishing, you know?
I think every angler, if you can, should go there if you're a bass guy, just to experience the history. It's like going to like Lake Biawak. It's like
Yeah.
there's so much, I think, knowledge you can find. Just a little tackle shop. Could you imagine a little tackle shop on Clear Lake?
Yeah.
Like, oh,
It'd probably be Florida, Texas, Cali, Arizona.
all those big bass
something
places.
something of that nature.
Like where you got a good chance of catching a 10-pounder on a
Yeah.
quad.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'll go out there all day long and sling big baits. I'm not really worried about those 2 and those 3-pounders or whatnot.
get that one big
I
one.
just care about those big ones, and that's what turns me on in bass fishing a lot more than tournament fishing. I can go out there all day long and throw a 7-inch glide bait, and just that one bite is enough to freaking make my dick hard enough to bring me back next time.
Nice.
What's your dream place, Tony?
My dream place, St. Lawrence River.
That you haven't been.
Oh, that I haven't been. Sturgeon Bay.
I already know.
Oh,
Sturgeon Bay.
Sturgeon-
Jim,
Ooh,
Jim,
yeah,
I
that's
got
a-
a
that's a
place to
good one.
stay down at Jim. Jim says, "Come on down."
I think is Lake Superior the one that hasn't really been touched for smallmouth fishing yet.
yeah.
That would be
Super-
cool to
Yeah,
explore.
Lake Superior's kind of been off on its own.
I'm sure they're in there.
Michigan,
Sure they're in there.
Ontario, Erie,
Even Huron's got some giants.
Huron.
Like
Why
Yeah,
is
Huron hasn't
why
been
is
touched.
Superior like this unknown thing? Because it's just so gnarly.
it's
all the
kind
time.
of it's out of the way.
And it's
Ocean.
giant.
yeah.
It's yeah.
It's the largest. It's
Yeah, it's big.
it's the largest landlocked body of water in the world.
Yeah, it's big.
So
Like-
when people when you talk about like like over in like Europe, Middle East, and they talk about like the Black Sea and you like or like the Caspian Sea, yeah, Lake Superior is bigger than those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only reason it's called a lake is because it doesn't have salt water.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Which is
huge.
awesome. It's
there's
like
a cool
awesome.
factor to that.
It's
that-
a freshwater ocean.
Literally the Edmund
I think
Fitzgerald. That's all I have to say about.
I think
Lake
I
Superior.
read. I think I read somewhere that Lake Superior contains like 20% of the entire world's
freshwater.
freshwater.
I can believe that.
That's wild.
And if you get to fish there, it's like the moon. You're like one of the first people to do it and catch them, which is so freaking cool.
Yeah, it's
But you have to play the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald while you're fishing there. Like it's on a Bluetooth speaker. So
don't go there.
It's a
don't,
requirement.
Don't go there in November.
No, don't do that. No.
Or
not
wear a
unless
life
you're
vest.
not unless you're in a fucking like 25-foot champion or something.
I
Or
don't know
bullet.
why the Sabine River is what little John Hansen says.
The
but-
Sabine. Nobody
massive.
wants to go to the Sabine. It is
No one wants to go
nobody's
there.
dream to go to the Sabine. Nobody has
You know-
ever said
you know
that
what? I
in the
feel like-
history of fishing.
I
It's
feel like
almost
fishing
as
a river
exact.
in like South America or Africa for like big ass freaking
You have a better chance of catching a 5-pounder on the Nanacoke than you do on the Sabine.
Probably.
like peacock bass or something. I feel like going down to South America for like 6-pound peacock bass, like
Look-
that'd be pretty sick.
Chad, Lake Superior is so big that Google doesn't even put it in acres; it puts it in square miles.
Yeah, it's big. It's really big.
31,000 square miles for the surface area.
That's crazy.
I don't
Yes.
know what that is in acres, but that's a lot.
I know. You're talking about big fish. Chaz, who's a local to the York River, thinks the Poe Tank area. They're going to give up a 9 to 10 pounder when the elites come easily. There will be multiple 9 to 10s pulled out of that area, which will
Down
be fun
in like
to
the
see.
Challen area. That was
Yeah,
that was the guy you had on the other night.
yeah.
Talking
he
about that.
says
Yeah.
it's not if, it's how many will come out. So that'll be fun to see. Because I remember as a kid, they said like, yeah, tidal places never give up 10 pounders, and it's like, well, that's bullshit.
Well, yeah. I mean, the Cali Delta gives up 10-pounders. I mean, Lucas
the
caught a
time.
12 out of there.
Yep.
In the last Elite Series that was out there. So, Lake Superior is 20,288,000 acres. It's 20 million. It's 20 million acres.
You can
that's-
fit
that's
Maryland
the
in
size
there
of
like
a
3
couple
times.
states.
Yeah.
That's the size of.
That's like the size of fucking Pennsylvania.
Probably, yeah.
I think
a
it's
lot of
bigger than that. I think it's like the size of Montana.
How big is
It's huge. It's massive.
That's just a body of water the size of Montana.
It's honestly it's most likely
Just
the.
try to go out there and try to catch some largemouth and some smallmouth in a body of
It's
water.
probably the size of New
fucking
York.
Montana.
It's
Honestly.
like it's like 15% of the size of Texas. So if you put Lake Superior in Texas, it would cover 15% of the state.
It's probably the size of New York.
It's a lot.
In all
That's
honesty,
huge.
yeah, it's like honestly the size of New York, which is ridiculously huge.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Let's see. Google has all the answers.
Google, eh? Yeah, just Google that thing.
No, it's way bigger than New York.
Is it really?
Oh no, I'm sorry. That's New York City.
It's got to be comparable to the size of New York State.
Let's see.
Jim, thanks, brother. Appreciate you
it's-
coming on.
So it's like 2/3 of the size of New York. So it's almost as big
Okay.
as New York State. Yeah.
That's pretty.
That's a big lake.
You can
That's
fit
huge.
4 Marylands in it. Yeah, it's massive. Like, I mean, there's plenty of bodies of water they can go to. When they talk about overpressure and all that crap, it's like, well, just rotate. There's plenty of lakes in the United States you could go to that are good. And that's what I think they've been doing for years. If you really care about these fisheries, don't go to Hartwell 38 times.
Well,
a
they care
year.
about the fisheries, but when
To an
when it
extent.
comes down to it, it's all about money. I mean,
It's
they're-
all-
it's a
Tony, do the Trump voice.
it's a business, so
Yeah, and
I mean, they're there to make money. They're not there to really do anything else. So, I mean, are they going to do as much as they can for the fish within that business model? Sure, but
and it shows you the model's flawed, because that was the fun thing about the Hobie press conference they did, where they're like, we're folding the Hobie series. It's like, this series
it's
was
not
never-
about money.
It was not about money. It was not for profit. They specifically said that. It was to throw shade at everybody else. We weren't making money at this. It was to give back to you guys, and we can no longer do that. So we're done. And that is such a shot when you put that in a business official letterhead saying, like, we didn't do this for us. We did it for you. Bass, go fuck yourself. That was basically what they were saying, because they're saying their models are just about them, not you. And that's why those payouts will never be seen again unless another company steps up. They were the best in fishing.
Really? Yeah, I wonder what we are out. We don't have time to get into that tonight.
Yeah.
But I would like to talk about that with you, because I am not very well versed in the kayak world. So just some of the differences on what that did and what's going on with Hobie and what's going on. Why did this happen? I'd really like to know your opinion on some of that stuff. So
I would
Yeah,
definitely
absolutely.
be willing to start up and do another episode here midweek, and we could talk about that
yeah,
if we got
Yeah,
time.
man, that'd be
got
fun.
Yeah, we got
Or
time as long as
if,
you guys.
or if Tom wants to, we could jump on your platform midweek.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Let me. We can. If you don't die from your skiing and snowboarding escapades, let's figure out what your guys' schedules are.
I should be good as long as I don't fall off the chairlift.
yeah, that would suck.
Yeah, try
Is that
not
a
to
thing?
do that.
It
could
is
be.
a thing.
I'll do
People
that.
have fallen off of it, and I tend to go up there with 4 beers in my pockets. So,
God.
Each trip, 4 beers each trip.
Each trip up the ski lift. Yes.
each trip. So yeah, by the it's
So by the- by the
I also,
fourth or-
like,
by the
the
fourth
way,
or
like,
fifth trip?
round top might be a very short slope down to the bottom, but I will stop and pee about 4 times before I get down there.
Yeah,
on
but
the-
yeah, we'll definitely talk about it. It's basically how when Walmart pulled out of FLW, it's basically the same thing. You had a big company that just balanced out how much it cost $250 to fish a 2-day tournament, and they had guaranteed 10 grand payback to the winner.
Right.
It was better than a BFL for a kayak. It was insane. So it is interesting to see how the industry, again, we're in a bad economy, guys. Like that's why Bass is doing what they're doing. It's because of the money. It's not about the anglers. They don't give a fuck about us. They don't. And I think that's why they're doing this special task force, is to basically leave it in litigation, and it's going to go nowhere. It's not going back to the way they are because the economy sucks.
I think I think
know.
that whole angler association is more to just make the anglers feel like they have a voice, and they're still
Smoke
going
and
to do
mirrors.
it. Yeah, exactly. I hope
Yeah.
I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong on that, but I kind of feel like they're going to go the direction that they want to go, because as they've always said, for the most part, anglers don't know how to run a business, and businesses don't know how to run a tournament.
Yep.
You know, so hopefully they work together and can kind of find some kind of middle ground in that.
We shall see.
But
Well, it was great talking to you tonight, Tom.
yes, sir.
As always,
Appreciate you coming
gentlemen.
on.
Thank you, everybody, for joining the show tonight. It was a fantastic show. Look for us sometime in the middle of the week. Hopefully, we'll be back with Thomas again, either on his platform or on Bass and Beer Radio.
Oh,
And,
look, Matt knows Chaz. I just saw that.
Chaz. Yep.
Matt, you were talking about Chaz earlier. Matt said Chaz is probably the best bass fisherman he knows.
He's pretty good.
Sounds like it.
All right, fellas. Y'all have a great evening.